Hello there, Internet. How are you? Good morning. Yes, another fine day. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time it is where you are. What I'm, what I need to address you about on this fine, fine day is the apparently never-ending stream of nonsense that I keep seeing about the situation in Israel and in Gaza, and about the ludicrous nature of the people that support the side of Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. If you find yourself supporting a terrorist organization, you might just want to check your values. If you find yourself supporting an organization, that thinks it's okay to kill, that thinks it's okay to intentionally target repeatedly as a regular standard routine of practice and a strategy and a tactic, little babies, children, girls, boys, women, men, every age, all the way up to the elderly, including grandparents and great-grandparents, including Holocaust survivors and all types of people, then you might want to recheck your values, because you're supporting a bunch of murderers who intentionally murder. And when I hear people say, oh, Israel has killed 20,000 civilians in Gaza since October 7th, my answer is no. No, it hasn't. Gaza has killed 27. The Hamas has killed 27 or 20,000 civilians, if those numbers are even correct, which I doubt, because after all, the numbers are coming from Hamas itself, which again is a terrorist organization that on purpose uses lies and disinformation and propaganda in order to embellish their narrative. Anybody who isn't aware of that should wake up, smell the coffee. When I see, the usual gaggle of useful idiots showing up by the hundreds of thousands or even millions in various countries around the world, all that tells me is that there's a whole bunch of useful idiots to one side or another, and in this particular case, to the side that supports Hamas. When you show tweets of 1 million people supposedly walking in Yemen in support of Hamas, right, or the PLO, or the Palestinians, or whatever banner they want to say they're supporting, right? They're supporting really just the side that hates Israel. And oh, by the way, how's that working out for you, Yemen, right? You've been attacking Israel. Thankfully, you haven't actually hit Israel even once. And you have one of the worst economies in the world. And you're fighting a civil war since forever. And hundreds of thousands of dead children and hundreds of thousands of dead men and women. And who's protested for you, Yemen? How's that feel? Nobody cares about you, right? It's terrible. It's awful, right? This cherry-picking, pearl-clutching, oh no, the poor Palestinians are being hurt by the Jews. That's the only time that anybody cares about Arabs, is when it's the Jews fighting them. When Arabs murder each other by the hundreds of thousands or by the millions, nobody says a damn word. When America and its allies went into Afghanistan and Iraq, killed hundreds of thousands of people in Afghanistan and Iraq, right? And you get people say, oh, well, they only killed 15,000 or whatever, and 12,000, civilians in Afghanistan in 20 years. Right, sure. And then they killed how many in Iraq? Okay. Estimates are in the well into the hundreds of thousands. Okay, and very quickly those numbers accumulated. And then they settled down. But within the first year, well into the 6 digits. Okay? So I don't need to hear the most ridiculous comments from the most ridiculous people commenting on the interwebs. And when you want to tell me, oh, America is controlled by the Jews and the Zionists. Oh, really? Really? America is controlled by the Jews and the Zionists. Is that why America gives Israel aid that Israel has to spend on American goods and services? Is that what you call The Jews controlling America? Really? Take all your hateful, hatred of the Jews, right, and shove it. It's not going to win you any points. Not in this book. Because you are just patently wrong. Objectively incorrect. Factually, improvably wrong. Right? All of your what people call anti-Semitic, it's just hatred of Jews, right? If you hate Jews, check your values, right? If you think it's okay to hate Jews just because they're Jewish, check your values, right? If you think it's fine to stand up and say, oh, I defend what Hamas did on October 7th for any reason whatsoever, check your values, right? Protesters, much wow, right? Just like a shitcoin in crypto, right? They have no meaning, they have no value, and they have no purpose when it comes to the actual solving of the problem in the Middle East. Okay? Do they have meaning as human beings? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they have a wonderful lot of value as people, and I'm sure that they're, terrific human beings in many ways. But when it comes to discussing the Middle East, the useful idiots, especially found in the liberal classes of Europe and the United States, are so dumb, right? They have no idea even what they're supporting. Quite literally, they have no idea what they're supporting. If you ask them, where is the Jordan River? What sea are we talking? Where is the river and what river and what sea are we talking about? They don't even know. If you ask them to point to it on a map, most of them can't even do it. And by the way, that's no longer just in the United States. That's also in Europe. Once proud to say that it was more highly educated. Guess what? You let in all these rich Qatari investors, really just the royal family of Qatar, invest in universities across the United States and Europe, and you let Emiratis dominate investments into your culture, including football and other things. And guess what happens within 20, 30 years? Oh yeah, suddenly you're standing up for all the wrong values. Suddenly you're standing up against freedom. You're standing up against liberalism. Or you're supporting the quote-unquote underdog who hates liberalism, who hates freedom, who hates anything to do with whatever weird values you might want to think have the right to exist. And you should have those rights to have them exist if they're not violent or hateful, right? If you're LGBTQ, they hate you. If you're a feminist, they hate you. And they call you an idiot to your face. And you say thank you because you're such an ethnic and diverse culture. No, they're calling you an idiot to your face and they're telling you they're going to destroy you. And yet you support them. If you're a European liberal or an American liberal or an Asian liberal or frankly, one of these, when I say liberal, I don't just mean somebody who has traditional liberal values. I mean one of these postmodern, extreme liberals who is just beyond the point of intellectualism and has entered folly. Right? You've taken your so-called intellectualism, destroyed it, made it pseudo-intellectualism by inserting false narratives, fake history, fake facts, otherwise known as lies, right? Incorrect facts and figures, incorrect interpretations, leaving out half the story, and you've turned that into a cause célèbre to fight for, to die for, and you won't even die for it because you don't have the balls, right? If you're so pro Gaza or whatever, as the expression goes, why don't you go there? But seriously, why don't you go there? At least for a tour. Oh, you won't do that, right? Right? Chicken. It's hilarious and disgusting. And the reason I'm even making this video is to point out the silliness, the stupidity of the useful idiots who protest for the wrong side of this conflict, who think it's okay and good to stand up and demand that Israel be held accountable for the murders that Hamas is committing every day, literally when they hide behind women and children. It is their responsibility. If they want the fighting to end, all they have to do is surrender, release the hostages, and the fighting ends. And once you educate them, and that's a process, educate them not to hate anymore, the war can end forever. Until then, this is what Israel has to deal with, whether we like it or not. Shalom.